Hi, I'm Emily and I am here with Maya Murphy's attorney, H. Daniel Murphy. Attorney Murphy practices at Maya Murphy's law offices in both New York and Connecticut. My question today for Attorney Murphy is, how long does the divorce process take in Connecticut?
So that's a question I'm asked very often, actually. People are obviously concerned about how long they're going to be in this whole process. And the short answer is, which is not very helpful, is that it depends. But I can give a little more specificity than that. So the initiation of a case requires the service of a summons and complaint on a person in a divorce, and that starts the process rolling. There is a return date on those papers, and the return date is basically the start date for the case as far as the court is concerned. So those papers have to be delivered to a person in a divorce by a marshal, a state marshal, at least 12 days before the start date. So when you factor in the time for a marshal to actually receive the papers and go out and hand them to someone, you're talking about at least a couple of weeks before the return date that your process sort of begins. And those papers now have a case management date on them. And the case management date is 90 days out, more or less, from the return date. So basically, the case management date is the date I tell clients that it's the first time that a court really comes looking for you. And that means that at that time, unless something has happened at the outset of the case that's more emergent, so that could be motions for temporary child support or temporary alimony, or someone is locked out of a house by someone else, or there's a bank account drained, something like that, something more emergent. Other than those circumstances, the case management date is really the first time that a court is asking the parties, what is this case really about, and what kind of case is this? What's the dispute? Is it a money case only? Is it a case where the parties are unlikely to agree on a parenting plan or child custody? Or is it one that's going to be uncontested, meaning that the parties are going to reach an agreement and they're basically going to ask the court to adopt that agreement and make it into a judgment of the court? So it used to be the case that the case management date was also the earliest date on which you could get divorced. So it was essentially a 90-day waiting period in Connecticut from the time you started the action until the case management date came around. And during that time, the lawyers and the parties used that opportunity to exchange documents, prepare financial affidavits, which tell the court what your financial snapshot is at that time, and exchange any disclosure that anyone wants. And with an agreement, you could get divorced on or after the case management date when that came up at that 90-day mark. Now there's another option, and the state of Connecticut has given us the option to waive the 90-day period. And this was generally reserved at first for less complicated matters, especially matters where there are no children or no custody matters in dispute at all. But it is gaining some favor, and it's used more often, and it often depends on whether or not you can reach an agreement on all the issues in that amount of time, which isn't a lot of time. So that's relatively rare, especially when there are substantial assets or parenting plans to sort of put together and explore. So back to the overall time periods, for cases which remain in dispute after the case management date, we see all different lengths of time, depending on whether there's a custody evaluation, so someone involved in the case to determine what's in the best interest of the children, work that's done by a guardian ad litem, for example, who might be meeting with the children. That all takes some time. Sometimes if there are business interests that need to be valued or examined, or houses appraised, discovery conducted, depositions taken. So all of those things take time as well. So generally in Connecticut, you should know that judges do not favor divorces going on for more than a year after that return date. So usually you will have a trial date scheduled for some time around the year mark or less. And the vast majority of cases, you can expect that the case will likely be resolved before then. So when you factor in that most cases resolve well short of trial, even before a pretrial date, and most litigants are looking to resolve their case short of trial, you can expect that a case will take somewhere between the 3-month mark and maybe 10 or 12 months. So depending on the particulars of your case, you should certainly speak with a lawyer about the unique facts of your situation and the likelihood of resolving the matter by way of agreement given those facts instead of going to a trial. And you can expect that the time period would be somewhere in that range.